Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? Hopefully you guys are doing pretty well today, and as always, thanks for checking out today's video. I've got a severe backlog of all these rainbow showcases that I need to catch up on, so hopefully in the next coming days to weeks, I'm able to kind of get through that process and showcase some of the units I've been meaning to for a while. So I did already showcase the strength version of the Bota Magetta unit. This version I haven't showcased yet, so a little bit different in terms of the skill sets, but as you saw, the potential levels, I gave this guy level 12 or level 14 additionals and level 12 for evasion, just because I purely treated this guy as a defensive unit. So when we talk about the skill sets of the unit itself, it'll probably make a little bit more sense as to why I did that. So let's just go ahead and cover the stats real quick. Leader skill for this guy reduces damage received by 40%, so setting this guy as a leader and trying to run through some of the teams is actually pretty interesting. Similar to kind of how some people have done certain runs with the intelligence Android 13 unit, where it's essentially a damage reduction or attack reduction based on a certain type of enemy. So similar type of mold there. In terms of the super attack, causes supreme damage to enemy and lowers defense. The passive skill is defense increase of 80%, and also a high chance to reduce damage received by 50%. So that percentage equates to 50% chance. So essentially, this is really a purely defensive unit. So I am treating it as such, and that's why you saw the potential levels that you saw earlier. Now, in terms of links, I mean, it's pretty solid for especially a Universe Survival Saga or Universe 6 setup. Tough as nails, that is defense increase of 1500. Infighter is attack increase of 10%, enemies defense minus 10%. More Than Meets the Eye is attack increase of 300. Rival Duo is attack increase of 10%, attacked enemies defense minus 15%. Of course, Tournament of Power is Ki plus 3. Warriors of Universe 6 is Ki plus 2, and then Fierce Battle is attack increase of 15%. For the categories, this unit falls into, again, Universe Survival Saga, Universe 6, but also Joined Forces and the Revenge categories. At 100% potential, you're looking at HP of 15,120, attack is 11,246, and defense is 9,008. 12 Ki Multiplier is pretty decent at 140%. Again, this guy is really just meant to be purely a defensive unit. Of course, with the defense increase of 80% and also the high chance to reduce damage received by 50%, you really do want to just take advantage of the tanking abilities of this unit. And surprisingly, this unit can tank pretty well, minus a few, super attacks based on type disadvantage. This unit will take, a fairly significant amount of damage, but outside of that, pretty solid overall. The other reason why I went toward additionals and crits is because with the super attack, you do have the ability to lower enemies' defense. So it's kind of a complementary setup in a way, where I've went with a focus on the super attack ability to lower defense, but also just purely focus on mitigating damage. So of course, if the defensive abilities in a type disadvantage setting come up, hopefully the levels toward evasion will kind of kick in for the basically avoiding any damage taken. So I mean, in essence, it's pretty solid, and of course, bringing in units like MVP 17 to further enhance the defensive abilities does help out a lot as well. Again, on a Universe Survival Saga or Universe 6 team setup, key links are definitely not an issue, so you really don't have to worry about that too much. And of course, ultimately, it's a lot of fun running this unit. I don't run it a whole lot, but whenever the opportunity arises, I think it's certainly a little bit enjoyable to bring this unit, especially because, I mean, these guys are just pretty much like, the Wu-Tang style of bring the ruckus, you know what I mean? Like, they can tank, and it definitely does make a difference to include these guys on the team. So with that being said, it's pretty solid. Of course, they start off as the SR unit of Botamo, so of course, you do have to awaken them to the max level of 100. I'm not sure if they'll ever do a actual TUR state of Dokkan Awakening where you get a max level 120, but eventually stuff like that will happen. Maybe eventually when we get the LR Jiren type unit, maybe a LR Ultra Instinct Goku, maybe a Dokkan Awakening for these guys will come along with that. But for the time being, I think they're decent enough to where it's not necessarily an absolute requirement, if that makes any sense. So again, I don't know how often you guys use these units. It is this version of Bota Magetta is quite different from the strength version, of course. Strength is more of a offense and defense balanced out approach, whereas this is purely more or less focused on defense. So that's two of the big key distinctions between the two units, and they each serve their own purpose in a way. So I guess that's probably the best way to explain the differences between the two units. I haven't tested these guys out on Super Battle Road yet, and I probably should since I do have them rainbowed. So, with that being said, I'm not quite sure in a Super Battle Road setting how much in damage they'll actually be able to mitigate, but I would assume it's pretty decent. It's probably not fantastic or great in that setting, but it's probably pretty decent. I think that's the best way to make the assumption there on that. You don't necessarily have to put levels toward evasion. I kind of did that just because, again, I really did want to treat this as a defensive unit, but the unit does at least get Fierce Battle as a link skill where its attack increase of 15%. So, if you decided to go toward crits, you could certainly do so. I wouldn't necessarily expect a whole lot of damage. I think the link with Fierce Battle, what the benefit that would bring is, units like Jiren or, even MVP 17 or whoever that does have the link, and, you kind of need that defensive unit on rotation, but also want that Fierce Battle link to be active. I guess that's one of the beneficial values of having this unit on. Again, I kind of rainbow this guy just for the hell of it. I didn't necessarily need it to be honest with you, but I think for players that are somewhat lacking in a deck diversity or availability, this guy tends to drop pretty often with the summonable banners. So I would imagine you could easily get this guy to max level and unlock 4 of the dupe paths. I think the awakening process might be a little tedious and cumbersome, but I guess for me, like, they were dropping left and right, so I was like, you might as well at least get them to max SA levels and unlock all 4 dupe paths, and I'll make a decision on whether to rainbow them or not down the road. And I finally did for both of these guys, the strength and physical version, and it's not I don't necessarily regret that decision. I think down the road they'll have some additional uses anyway, when it comes to like certain team building process and whatever. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't necessarily need these units. I know I've stressed that before, but I want to make that very clear. This isn't like, an absolute necessity that you must rainbow this unit in order to clear a certain event. Maybe on the Universe Survival Saga category of Super Battle Road, if you're still, struggling a lot in terms of that, maybe these guys will bring that extra element of potentially helping you clear it. But outside of that, I really don't see too much of a value added based on, the investment of potential orbs that it does require. Now, if it was like a, their individual specific potential orbs, then, by all means, I would recommend it, obviously. But, at this point, I think it's more or less, I rainbowed them because I wanted to test them out, see how they would do. And I chose a pretty decent setting where it's infinite Dragon Ball history. So it's difficult enough, but not overly difficult. So if that makes any sense, I guess you can get what I'm trying to get at. So I guess, with all that being said, this is the 100% potential showcase for the physical version of Bota Magetta's defensive abilities. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content as always. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later.